In today's video, we are talking about playing over two different keys. Now, this topic can be a little daunting if you don't know what you're doing. I'm going to walk you through it. It's simpler than you think. You just need a few mental tricks to get into this game. It's really a chess game that we're going to play today. Very simple, only two different keys. The backing track and the charts are available for you for free. Just visit the link below, enter an email address so that I can send you those. And this is also part of a series of videos that we're kicking off today. Videos on playing over Fusion backing track. Now, what does Fusion mean? I don't know. But that's what we're doing today. Anyways, grab your guitar, grab the pack below. Let's get started. Hi, this is David Wallerman. Welcome to this channel, which is all about helping guitar players around the world tell their own musical story using the guitar. This is your pencil, you're the author. Let's learn how to best communicate your ideas with different musical concepts. And today we are talking about modulation. Now, the backing track we're using today is made of two different chords. Let's take a listen to this. This is the first chord, that's the first mood. All right, all that is one scale. Then we're changing here. Okay. Now, notice that it's actually the same mood, right? It's kind of gives you the same feeling. And then back to the first one. Those are the two different keys that we're going to use. Now, the mood is important, the concept of the mood, because if you can assign to something you're hearing a mood, that's personal work, right? But if you can assign to that a mood, you can dig into the box, the mental box that you have. And if this mood represents, I don't know, blue sky, then you dig in that box all the blue sky tools that you have. Or if this mood represents the Dorian, which it is, then you dig in the Dorian box of tools. I kind of like to replace words with other words so that it's easier for me to remember. That's kind of how I approach, well, pretty much everything in life. Anyways, all right, so we have two different Dorian keys. We do need to know what Dorian is really quick. I'm going to show you a close-up of what that is. So the Dorian mode or scale is a 7-note alphabet. I'm going to show you this in A, which is what this first chord is. It's A something, A minor 7 with 13, if we want to be specific. But the alphabet that is going to fit that is the alphabet that uses the same notes that you're hearing there. Now, the notes are part of, you've got to listen to everything. The bass, the guitar, the keyboard, all the melodic instruments. It gives you the scale to use. And this happens to be Dorian. So it's a 7-note scale. Here is an A. I'm going to give you one position. And the position we're using is going to be important here. You'll see why later. But here it is. Starting on the low E string, we have frets 5, 7, 8. On the next string, 5, 7. On the next string, we have 4, 5, 7. Next string, 4, 5, 7. Next string, 5, 7, 8. And 5, 7, 8. It's a fairly simple scale to memorize. And if you have trouble memorizing this, just use your minor pentatonic scale, because notice that within this, I have a secret hidden minor pentatonic scale to which I'm only adding two notes. I'm adding the second and the sixth. The Dorian mode is a minor pentatonic scale to which we're adding a second and a sixth. So you can play minor pentatonic, and every once in a while add the sixth or the second. And the chart's going to help you for that. So that's what we have. Now that is the Dorian mode in A. That means that that's going to work over that first mood. Now if you're not comfortable phrasing with Dorian, minor pentatonic. to which you're adding those notes. All right, now that doesn't work anymore. That Dorian, it doesn't work anymore, yet it kind of does, doesn't it? Did you hear that? It kind of did, kind of. Now, I'm saying kind of because when I was playing over this first chord, everything did work. Why? Because I'm extracting from what I'm hearing, the alphabet. Now here, that works. That doesn't. That works. That kind of works. That kind of works. Some notes work. Some don't. But there's quite a bit of notes that do work on that second key, that second scale, that second mood. And we're going to use that to our advantage. The notes that are common to both keys. The cool thing is that you always will have at least one note that is common to both keys. You can try and you'll see there always will be. If you find a scenario where it doesn't work, let me know below. I may have missed something, but honestly, it never really created any stumbling blocks for me. And we're going to use that. So how are we going to use this? Well, there's multitude of ways, but the first thing that we're going to do is talk about the visual anchor point. It's an important thing when you're approaching this kind of thing, this kind of concept. So what do I mean by that? I mean that if I'm starting to play over this, that's A, okay, A, low E string, 5th fret, that's my visual anchor point. And I'm building things in that zone of the fret. Okay, so that A was my visual anchor point from which I'm building the rest. Maybe on that second key, we could also use an A. So I'm going to tell you what that second key is. It's actually the same thing. It's also A Dorian. Sorry, it's also a Dorian key, but a full step above. So you could be tempted to play that Dorian mode in that position, or mani pentatonic, and when it modulates, 2 frets above. That works, right? But pay attention when I go back. I kind of exaggerated that, but what happened there? If I play it alone, I was in B, and then A. I kind of had a break in between. I started an idea in B. Instead of finishing it in A, I started another idea in A. Or in this case, the same idea, but started over. So there is that break. And we want to try to avoid that sometimes. You don't have to always avoid that, but sometimes you do. So why is that? Well, let me tell you another story. All right, pay attention to the following story. I'm going to say it in 2 different ways, 2 different variations. Variation 1, the frog wanted to cross the river. The castle was across the river. Variation 2, the frog wanted to cross the river because the castle was just behind it. Okay, so what did I do here? Well, the first same story, right? The first variation, I started a sentence. That was one idea. The frog wanted to cross the river. And then I started, the castle is across the river. 2 kind of different ideas. In variation 2, I managed to blend both ideas together. The frog wanted to cross the river because the castle was over there. Whatever I said. But that was kind of, it flowed better, a little bit better. Musically, that's what I did here. Instead of having 2 sentences, one in B, and then A, I have 2 sentences because I had to reposition my finger, doing 2 frets above, 2 frets below on that modulation. Now, if I wanted to blend both together, what I need to do is to have like a link, a word, something that links both ideas together. In our story, it was because the frog wanted to cross the river because, and continue. So how do we do that musically? Well, that's where we use the common notes. And even further than that, to simplify this, instead of having the visual anchor point in one zone of the fretboard for one key, and then another one, we're going to bring everything to the same zone of the fretboard, which will naturally help us create those ideas that really blend with one another. So when I played over this backing track earlier, I noticed that some notes worked in both. There's always a common note. We can use A as the common note. Just our ear tells us that this note, A, works in both keys, right? That A becomes something else, but it works. It's in a different context. In the first key, it's the root. It's the 1. We are in A Dorian. Now that doesn't mean that all my sentences need to end on that 1, on that A, but that's my visual anchor point. I'm building my scale from that A. Now visually, I'm going to build it from that A2. Now this is where understanding how modes relate to each other is important. It's not always going to work because you might be playing over two really different systems, like maybe one system would be from the church modes, the other one from harmonic minor, and it doesn't really fit the understanding of how this works. But in this case, it does. So this is the important thing. Modes originally were extracted from a common major scale. And a lot of people use that as a shortcut to playing with modes. I don't like that method because I think it forces students to always go back to not only the major scale, which in essence that's not a problem, but visually they always go back to the same major scale pattern. And then your improvisation is very influenced by the pattern, but we're going to use this here. So the order of the modes is as follows. It does a big circle. You can start from anywhere in that seven dot circle, whatever that shape is called, sept something. So you got Ionian. Usually people start with that one, but you can start from wherever. In this case, Dorian. So Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, Locrian, Ionian does a big circle like that. And if you know those shapes, you can use that to your advantage. So in this case, the second scale that we have, the second mood is B Dorian. B Dorian, so before Dorian is Ionian, and Ionian is 2 frets below Dorian, so that fits. So that means that instead of thinking of, I'll show you the zones. A Dorian here, that's my kind of my range here. And then instead of thinking of B Dorian, which is on a different zone, right? Different zone, we're going to bring that zone to the first one, which would be A Ionian. So now we're still playing the same exact thing. The backing track directs what you're playing. Any note is going to be attracted to that. The backing track is the boss. But because we managed to bring things closer here, that means that my improv is not going to be as jumpy as before. I can start a sentence. I can start a sentence in one key and finish it in the next. I'll try it here. See how it works? It's very different than the jumpy effect. You start in one zone. You see what I did there? It's smoother, I think, and it's maybe a little more interesting. Now, again, that doesn't mean that you can't jump around, but that's very useful. So we're going to practice that just a little bit without the backing track. I'm going to do a close-up here. And we're going to try this. We're going to pretend that we're starting an idea in A Dorian and finish it in A Ionian, which is B Dorian really, right? Because we're pretending that we're hearing that backing track. So maybe I can start something like a simple lick. Maybe I'll start 4th string, frets 4, 5, 7, 4, 5, 7. Okay, that'll be the beginning of the Dorian. So, and then I'm going to land on, I'm going to pretend that the modulation happens on the next note. I'm going to visualize A Ionian this time, which is, if I play the same strings here, strings 4 and 3, instead of having frets 4, 5, 7, 4, 5, 7, I'll have 4, 6, 7, 4, 6, 7. So maybe my lick could be 4, 5, 7, 4, 5, 7, 6. That's the modulation. Let's try that over the backing track. So I'm in A Dorian, A minor pentatonic, and I'll try it here. Beautiful, right? Because now I'm in B Dorian, but I'm playing that A Ionian position. And I'm modulated there. Very close notes for that modulation. It's not a big jump like I would do here. Then you could do that anywhere on the fretboard, but we're just concentrating on this one. Nice, right? Because I knew the modulation was coming and I pretended, I visualized that Ionian mode. You're just phrasing, you're anticipating the change. And if you do this without the backing track, I think that really solidifies the concept, because you don't have to worry about the rhythm too much. You're just visualizing that. We brought it in one zone of the fretboard, but you can bring it to any other zones of the fretboard, any other positions you master. Just visualize a narrow area of the fretboard. I'll try this one right here. A Dorian. Whoops. I kind of messed up that one. And so forth. So the more you work on this, the easier it will be, and your ear is going to be involved too, trying to anticipate the note or the change. It's really going to help you. So that's what I had for you today. It's about visualization, it's about anticipation, and using the theory, the order of the modes, for instance, in this case, to our advantage, to help us create music. Really the main thing, the most important thing is the outcome, what people hear. And do the notes you're playing correspond to what you have in your head? Do you like that sound? Does it fit who you are as a musician? If the answer is no, if you don't like this and you prefer the jumpy effect, there's nothing wrong with that. Just be confident in your choices. But that's what I have for you in this video. We're going to continue this series exploring different concepts like that, trying to make things, giving you practical strategies that you can use in your own music wherever you're at. You can get this backing track for free. Remember, the pack is below. If you download this pack in this video, that will use the same pack in the following videos in this series on playing, approaching fusion guitar. that's what I have for you today. If this was your first visit, thank you so much for stopping by. You should consider subscribing, because every single week on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, there's a new video that comes out helping guitar players around the world find their voice to develop their own personal musical story. Thank you so much for watching this. I will see you very soon. Practice well.